Good morning.
Good morning to you. Is it a good snowy morning or what?
It is. I guess that was the big storm that we had. We thought we were just having a little bit Saturday night. Sheldon and I did our first wedding of the season. Came out, we thought that was the snowstorm. Like it was, over our ankles. We drove home. It
Yeah.
was good. We said, oh, you know what? This is perfect. It's not that bad. We woke up to bad Sunday morning yesterday.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was a it was a
Same.
bad one. Like we had two back to back, but
Yeah.
the one earlier this week was nothing compared to this
Yeah.
one.
Well, like
Yeah.
I say, Saturday night it started and we thought that was it. This is perfect, nothing. But all
No, no,
day
no.
yesterday, all day it snowed. So so Sheldon
Not
is
so lucky, eh? This
yeah,
week.
Sheldon is out doing the snow blowing right now because there was no point last night when it stopped at 6. It was pitch black, so we just let it go and probably gonna take half the day to do it today.
Yeah. Well, there's a debate too, is like, do you wait until it's over or do you do it, periodically? Like, is there a point to clearing right now when it's gonna snow another 5 inches? Like, um, I don't know. I say you wait until the end, but then again, I'm not
Yeah.
the one lifting the snow.
Yeah, me neither. Me neither. He could, he could spend 3 hours, clean it all up, turn around, come back, and then start again. Not a
So
good idea.
this is my Lisa's driveway this morning.
Yep, this is what I'm looking out to this morning, out of my kitchen window.
So
So,
tell me, like, do you not have like a snowblower to do all this?
oh yeah, he's got a snowblower. He's got a
Oh,
tractor. He's got a tractor with a blade as
thank
well.
God.
But the problem when he uses the tractor with a blade, it just pushes so much of the driveway onto the grass. It makes such a mess.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
yeah, so we have a snowblower, push snowblower. So he gets a bit of exercise while he's doing it.
That's good. Exercise is
Yeah.
good, but it's notorious. Like snow is notorious. Like you have to be very careful. There's a lot of people that get like heart attacks and stuff
Yep.
doing this stuff. So you kind of have to be careful.
Well, that's more when if you're shoveling it manually. When you're
Yeah.
walking 2 miles an hour behind a snowblower, I don't think there's much heart attack going on there.
Yeah, no, my like we used to have like the snow plower. We used to have a snow blower, and then a few times we did like hire somebody to come and clear the snow.
Mhm.
But like in the latest years, we've had so little that I
Yeah.
really, it's like three times you shovel. It's not like that bad, but maybe this year would have been a good thing to do. Whoops, I'm sorry. I'm gonna silence my phone. So what
I've
a
already silenced mine.
so what do we have today, Miley's?
Well, we actually thought we were just going to be the two of us chatting for an hour, which would have been maybe a little boring for everybody. But we have two guests on. We have Matteo Lucio, we have Julia's son, and we have Luis Mino.
Hello.
So there's Matteo, there's Louise.
Hi.
So some of our talk today is going to be about the
So I
elections.
want
Yep.
to I want to say
And
before we start into all this that we were supposed to have a an election kind of like a debate type show today, but being
mhm,
that it fell on Family Day. It's Family
Family
Day
Day.
today. It was kind of hard to
Yep.
coordinate everybody, and so we decided to not do it. And instead, we have Mateo here, who's going to be talking to, how it is to be a young person looking at this political platforms and landscape, and how it affects young people and how they should go vote. I'm
Yep.
hoping Mateo's going to
Yep.
say that. And Louise is going to be talking to us because Louise is the president of the NDP party, writing association,
Writing
I
it.
should say, not party.
Wow,
Maybe
she's risen that
Wow.
aspirations there. And she's going to be talking to us about how it is to be involved in a political campaign, especially a short one like this.
fast.
And how she's keeping her sanity through it all.
No, not barely hanging on by a thread.
I bet. I bet.
Yeah.
So
I just wanna say quickly, I see old school Dave in the chat, and I don't know if he's saying he missed Real Wednesday as in he didn't know if it happened and he didn't see it, or if he missed us not doing it. We didn't do it. We might do it today. We're not sure. I just want to let Dave know it was us who missed it. And
yes, you didn't miss it. We missed
yeah,
it.
yep.
We
How
have to
did you
work on
miss it?
we have to work
We
on consistency.
yeah, I think I think also on the topic of politics, my mom is heavily involved with the NDP's campaign. So I think on the Wednesday she took a rain check. She said, I'm very busy. I think you might have
Yeah,
had a
it's
headache too. I
kinda
don't it was
No, I didn't have a headache. I was just like overwhelmed.
yeah,
It's
understandable.
it's been taking over my life a little bit.
Everything.
You thought she had a headache, Mateo. It was that deer in headlights look that she really had.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
I'm running around like this all the time now. Just like,
Looking a little delirious. Lack of
yep.
sleep, too much stress, whatever else. Yeah.
Yep. Uh-huh.
I'm
All
saying,
right.
So I thought we had talked about if anybody did want to come on, or if anybody has comments about the election.
Yes, I
I
was going to
see
That
we
post
already have
the
a
link.
comment here.
Yes, Katrina. It's not really long enough for people to get to know the candidates. A short campaign advantages the incumbent. Like,
Yeah.
that's why it was
that's
done.
the point. That's the point.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
I think that is a common thing, especially with snap elections like this one. If it doesn't go the full 4 years, it's a super short campaign season, and like the Liberals just got their candidate officially,
Mhm.
did that process right, so they weren't able to campaign until then.
Uh-huh.
You're saying the liberals, the Greens just
Oh
got
wow,
their. Yeah, it was like because the deadline I believe was the 13th, and like everybody was like scrambling to
Yep.
get their. So I'm going to just one sec, Louise. Okay, I'm going to put the link to the video here, like to the stream, the Restream platform. So if you want to come on video and talk to us, I'm hoping that maybe some of the candidates were actually snowed in today and might want to come to talk to us. So I'll put this in the description of the video, and then maybe somebody will come.
I
Who
have
knows?
something very important to say. I just remembered this. Today, unless you're going to do it in person, today is the deadline to update your voter information on the Ontario Register to Vote website. So, unless you're going to do that in person on the day of the election, you might want to do that today.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The website is
Hmm.
vreg.registertovoteon.ca.
All right, thank you. Louise, you wanted to say something? You've been waiting. You had your
Well,
hand up.
it was just in response to Katrina's comment, and that is that, you know, this is a personal opinion, but to me, when they call snap elections, it's to deliberately hobble any other candidates, any other parties, and to me, it's really stretching the thing of democracy and being democratic very, very thin. You know, she's saying that not enough to really get to know candidates, and that is the point. And I think that that's unfair.
Agreed.
I mean, we've known Nolan Quinn's name for how long now? And then people are just discovering the name Jeremy Rose and the other candidates here. So
Yeah.
it is definitely unfair.
Yeah, and Jeremy has the home advantage, right? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
he's locally known a little bit because he's like
Mhm.
postal worker, so some people know him, but
Mhm.
a lot of
Well, Devin Monkhouse, nobody knows him at
right,
all. He's he's in Toronto.
Yeah.
And at
yeah,
this point, he has what, 10 days to campaign?
right.
Mhm.
Like it's so quick, man. It's just like insane.
Thanks, old school Dave. Jeez.
What did he
okay.
say? I'm
He
like
said,
posting
my
the
hair
photo.
looks great today. Yeah, thanks. We work at it a little. Yeah.
Louisa's been because we've been living on Zoom pretty much, and
Yeah.
Louisa's been looking very good on Zoom these
I
days.
noticed, yeah.
Jeez.
She's got the poofy hair going there.
I'm paying more attention to my appearance because I'm on live stream a lot these days, and it's just like, oh, yeah,
There you
yeah.
go.
But it'll be back to slob soon. Don't worry about it.
Oh
Yeah.
my God, are you getting a laryngitis or something? Your voice sounds like
No, I don't think so. I just haven't talked enough this morning.
okay.
It's been more, waking up, looking at emails and all of that business, and it's yeah.
What? You haven't talked enough this morning? What the hell?
No, I haven't.
Well, you have the perfect opportunity to get talking.
Well, that's it. I'll drink water in a minute. It'll kind of calm down.
Yeah. So I know we're like it's a snap election. We're looking, and we were running some polls on the Seeker, and I was really surprised and about how Jeremy is performing, because as of this morning he was trailing behind Nolan Quinn, but I mean, for a snap election and a guy that is fairly like a name that he doesn't have name recognition, right? He's doing pretty well. So, Louise, your team is doing a good job.
Pretty fantastic.
Yeah, it's I mean, I think part of it is that he's known a little bit, and I think that he's also known through his partner Brett DeRosier, who's a very well-known local. Hold on while I cough. Okay.
Yeah. Do you want to get some water?
I have water.
Okay.
I don't know what's going on, but we've put out like from one day to the next. We've worked, and we're working on it. It's a work in progress every day, but we've put a lot of work into the SDSG NDP Facebook page. We're trying to keep the sdsg.ca website going. And Jeremy has also gotten a lot of interest in the media. So there's tons of stories about him in the media, with more coming out, I think, almost daily, because people are very interested in this new candidate. So, yeah.
I think it is also a little bit of a natural thing to an extent. You said he's doing better in the polls than maybe people would expect. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that he is a local candidate, because too often in this riding, the parties, because the Liberals and in the past maybe the NDP have thought this riding is a lock for Conservatives, so they ship someone in from Ottawa, Kingston, Toronto, wherever. And if we're being frank, it's a campaign that's not run with all the effort that maybe it deserves. And so we have Jeremy Rose here, someone from the area, and we have a team behind him. And I think that's part of why he's getting all this traction he's getting.
He's also, I mean, I knew him a little bit through his partner, who I see at the studio, because we operate out of the same studio. But I've gotten to know him a lot better, obviously through this process, because I'm in touch with him all the time. And he's a really bright guy, and he's one of the few that you can say he's actually in it for the right reasons. He really cares, and he's fired up to represent the SDNG area.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, Matteo, let me ask you a little bit about you and how you feel as a younger person who's already voted. Like it's I'm proud of you because you have gotten
Yeah.
involved before and you have, taken part of the process. And so how do you, what can you say to people your age group to let them know that, it's important and their vote matters?
So I do want to start off by saying I don't think I haven't voted provincially or federally because the last elections for both of those were before I was of age. I'm 20 years old. I have voted in a municipal election here in Cornwall, and I am a dual citizen, so I voted in the recent American election. But the one thing I want to drive home is I think the voter participation in 2022 was below 50%. It was like 45% or something. And I see this graph circulating that shows that the Conservatives won this election. The Progressive Conservative Party won the last election by obtaining 18% of the eligible adult vote. Sure, it's like 40% maybe when you factor in that not everyone voted. It's 40% of the people who did vote, but it was 18% of all eligible votes. So 18% of the population has a mandate in government now. And I think I would suspect that if you look into those numbers, the lowest participation group is my age demographic, 18 to 25, 18 to 30, however you want to group it. And I think my message to young people would be it's our future, right? Um, One of my biggest concerns when I decide who to vote for is housing. And housing does not matter to people who already own homes. It matters to people like me who do not own a home and who wish to own a home one day. So my message to people in my age group would be it's our future. Get out there and vote. Don't let 18% of people decide who runs this province for the next decade.
Yeah.
That is
true.
very true. We had on that topic, do we assume that if we didn't receive a voter card yet, that we need to review our registration vote? I didn't get one, but I assumed it was only slow. So I do believe that you can vote on the spot, like whether you have a registration card or not. You can maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe that as long as you have ID, you can go to your polling station and you can be added on the spot if you're not already on the list, and you can vote. You can absolutely vote.
I would just add, I know that there's I guess a poll open definitely at the mall, Cornwall Square.
The returning office is there, right?
Okay, and I believe that you can walk in and get what you need there and vote.
Okay. So voting has started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was very, very busy last week. I couldn't believe that it was that busy. There was a lot of people out voting.
Oh, you went?
I didn't. I went with my mom to the mall, and we couldn't figure out why it was so busy. The parking lot was full, and that's
Wow.
why, because the voting station is there. It was very busy.
Wow.
Again, that feels weird to me. The candidates are not even out and we're voting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
That's wrong.
people were walking in and out.
It
I'm
that
just gonna put myself off camera for a minute.
it all happened so quickly. It's crazy. We thought maybe less than a month ago, we maybe thought the next election is going to be the federal one, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden a provincial one gets called, and it's in 10 days now.
Well, we have been warned, eh? There's always been this kind of speculation in the news that, well, Doug Ford might call an election, might call an election, might call an election. And he did.
I don't want to speculate too much. I also think it's because there's a scenario where if the federal election gets called first, the Conservatives win the federal election, then that gives an anti-incumbency bias to the provincial Progressive Conservatives, and Ford may have called this election beforehand to get a jump start on that.
I agree with you. I think that not only that, but Ford and speculation. Ford and Poilievre don't appear to really uh, campaign together. They're not, you
No.
know what I mean? You
Yeah.
know, Ford is Ford and Polyev is Polyev. And I'm not sure that Ford and Polyev agree on a lot of things. So, yeah, he may not want to be.
Well, they agree on Trump.
Oh, please! They agree on Trump, and to me, I can't get over that one.
It's so
You know,
funny because they are like they're Trump like, you know,
yeah,
but they campaign against Trump. Like
I
it's
I want to
weird.
speculate here again. I think Trump's threats towards Canada made a really easy political dunk. Like they laid it up for you to dunk and appear strong by standing up to Trump. And
Mhm.
almost every politician in Canada jumped on that, save maybe Danielle Smith in Alberta.
oh yes, but again, I mean, if you're a Canadian politician, whether provincial or federal, you should be jumping on that. You should
Yeah.
be against that. Come on.
Mm.
You know, I mean, this guy is turning around and he's talking about, you know, either annexing us as a 51st state and or, you know, plundering our resources, which I think is the reason why he's doing all this talking. But it starts off kind of joking and it's getting more and more serious to the point where we're sitting there going, you know, is this guy going to invade? Like, what's he
Well, that's the
doing?
thing, right? It's becoming to sound like
Hmm.
threats. Like really, it's
Oh,
beginning to sound like threats. And we were
absolutely.
having this discussion about the Canadians booing the American anthem the other day, you know, at a hockey game, and how, you know, it's so anti-sportsmanship. And I'm like, hello, look at what's happening. Like, you
Yeah.
know, do you really, are you surprised that, you know, this is
My
happening?
opinion is that that is booing the American anthem is disrespectful in normal times, but we are not in normal times.
Exactly.
Mm-mm, mm-mm.
No.
Agreed.
Okay, so we have a comment in here. Housing affects those of us with houses too. I am disabled, and the doubling cost increase and interest rates, and even just basic maintenance is out of reach. It's been 80% just in plus in utilities.
Yeah.
Very good point. Very fair point.
Yep.
Yeah.
True.
So I think that was to Mateo's comment
Yeah,
about
I don't want to make
young
it sound
people.
like housing exclusively affects young people. That is a very fair point.
No,
No,
and
but you're right that it has become unattainable for younger
Mhm.
people, you know,
Yeah,
to even
definitely.
dream of owning a house. Like, you know,
but it's not limited to that, and that I think is something that we're talking about housing from that perspective, and I agree with you, Matteo. But housing is also, uh, you know, tenants, and you know, there are so many loopholes. Some, you know, in the sort of landlord tenant act right now, that allow for enormous rent increases for dumps. I mean, you know, this type of stuff needs to be worked so that, you know, people can rent. I mean, I'm looking. I see, you know, on you know, marketplace and stuff like that, and I see the prices. They have almost, or some of them have doubled in
Hmm.
4 years. That's crazy.
I know it's insane, completely insane. And you're right. It's not even for a high end apartments. It's
No,
for total dumps that you will find, like, you know. Anyways, it's a pretty bad.
Well, that's
So
well. There's also the lack of housing
yeah,
too. So
yeah.
And
I mean, that's a big lack of it. So they can
you
do
know,
that.
I'm not going to act like the federal government has no say in the housing market, but we have the provincial election coming up and housing is at the end of the day a provincial responsibility. So that's something to think about if you are
Mhm.
dissatisfied with housing in Ontario right now.
so I
Mm.
want to ask, like, to what Mateo's saying, I want to ask, like, what do you guys think is happening that people are actually looking at this government and saying, "Oh yeah, they did great. I'm going to, you know, vote again for these people who have cut healthcare, who have like made a mess of housing, who have like, so
Education,
how come people
education.
education, which just took a hit right now, like our own college here in town has lost 40% of their programs. Like that's not little. 40% of their programs. That means 40% of the staff cut. That means like, well, maybe not 40%, but a huge
Close.
chunk of the staff
Yeah.
is going to be cut. So how do we look at this and say, yeah, they did great. I'm going to vote for that again.
I think Ford is really good at brushing off housing, education, whatever, even if it's his responsibility, brushing it off as if it's the fault of the federal government, and putting to the forefront his kind of useless popular policies like bringing alcohol to convenience stores and like basic highway infrastructure. When it like those are minor things in comparison to housing and education,
Healthcare.
Or give
healthcare.
or send everybody a $200 check.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's bribery. Mine went to,
No.
you know where mine went. You know, at the end of the day, people have got to, again, we have a lot of partisan discussions, but at the end of the day, people have to decide what it is that's important for them so that they can function. Okay. And when you come right down to it, it's the basics in life. You need, especially healthcare. Uh, it's a huge issue, and people don't realize that Ford is progressively privatizing it, and you are going to start having to get private insurance, okay, which is extremely expensive, and you're going to then have to deal with things where pre-existing conditions are not covered. You have different tiers of insurance. I know this from looking at and reading about American healthcare, and it's a mess. So this is stuff like that. Education. I mean, it's the basis of for young people of how they do later on in life. You don't do proper education, housing. I mean, we're in Canada. You need to live somewhere. You need a roof over your head.
Yeah.
And we have problems just getting that, especially locally. We have problems with homelessness and stuff like that. I mean, and
But
yeah.
I want to be the devil's advocate here,
Go
okay?
for it.
Because there's a lot of criticism that the NDP and the Liberals, but more the NDP than the Liberals probably, are notorious for funding and promising and never doing good on these promises, and then taxing the middle class because they have to pay for these programs, or at least that's what
No, I don't think so.
in the mind
I
of
think
people that's what's happening.
I think that's good propaganda on the conservatives' part, and maybe a lack of
But that's what I
propaganda
want.
on the NDP's part. Because I mean, if you look federally, the NDP was the driver of pharmacare, dental care, child care.
Yeah.
Okay, so who's paying for pharmacare?
Well,
and
okay,
dental care?
but the proposition that you put forward was that these are empty promises when they're not. Yes, taxpayers are paying for this, but I mean that's how social
Okay.
programs work.
I think it's important for people to understand. Yes, we pay for it as taxpayers, but when you're paying, 15 million who are paying for these services in the province, your costs are considerably less per person than it would be if you had to pay it out of pocket. The other thing, yeah, go.
Sorry to interrupt you. Just as an
Go.
example of what Louise just said, I believe the American government pays more per person for healthcare than the Canadian government does.
We have another comment. I think it's complacency assisting Ford, and there was a huge stat that think they are voting against federal liberals when they're voting in the province. Yes, that's true.
And that's what I was
were
talking
stats that
about
show
with
you SWAT
the
and
anti-incumbency bias, which is why Ford called this election now. If he had called it when Polyev was in power, the federal enemy for people who are dissatisfied is the Conservatives, and that would reflect in how they vote in the Ontario election.
But I think what Katrina is saying is also, and I agree with her, people are complacent. They're not paying attention. They're not really thinking because it hasn't, a lot of stuff hasn't hit yet. Again, I'll go back to healthcare. If you actually have to start paying a couple of $1,000 out of your pocket, okay, to get just the most basic healthcare, you're gonna be.
But you
Yeah.
see, people won't believe that until it happens. That's how we are, They won't they're thinking that what you're doing right now is propaganda and trying to scare people into voting for the left,
Yeah.
right?
And
And so unless it happens, people are not going to wait.
I don't know how, because I obviously, as you know, I write about it, I talk about it, I'm very involved in that one. And I just, it's like, I can't, it's too late. Okay. It's too late when Ford turns around and has privatized. It's something that it would be very, very hard to get back, especially when you end up with private, companies that are administering healthcare. How do you get rid of them once they're here?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I mean, they were here in the past, so there are ways to get rid of them. But
they were they here though in the past? You're saying
they
were
like in the 40s and the 30s, people paid for their own healthcare.
Yes, but
even further than that.
But they weren't big companies that had installed themselves here, that had lobby groups, all of that.
Okay, I get what you're saying.
Yeah. That's not right now. What we have is we have American companies, especially that are looking at Ontario and at Canada and going, oh, yum yum.
Yeah,
we can get another 35 or 40 million people on board, and
let's just invade.
And they're trying to, in a way.
How do you guys? How do you think this would work if? Say we're in the doomsday timeline where Ontario does succumb to healthcare becoming privatized. Does this become a national movement? Because healthcare is a shared responsibility between federal and provincial. Federal's responsibility is to provide funding. What happens in the world where the biggest province in Canada privatizes healthcare?
I think that, it's the biggest, but it's also got, Alberta, who really wants to privatize.
Yep.
Quebec, which is going in that direction as well. It's almost worse in Quebec, from what I'm told from friends. To get a doctor, a lot of the time you're paying now. So what happens is that movement basically takes over. I think it swallows a lot of places.
Yeah.
But okay, so is it inevitable? Like, is it something that's just like, is the fact that the provinces are turning into privatization a proof that things are not working? Or are they not working because
I think it's
governments are making sure it's not working?
Yes, I think it is exactly that. I think that this is deliberate underfunding. Okay, I mean, I don't need the booze in beers in the corner stores and stuff like that. I want healthcare. I want to know that it's there for me. If I was a parent, okay, of children, I'd really, it would drive me crazy, the idea that my kids could get sick and I couldn't get healthcare. So does it have to be like that? No, it doesn't have to be like that, but people have to get loud. They have to say, I mean, this is something that we've built over 30 40 years in Canada, and in the provinces, and we're taking, to us it's a right.
Yeah.
And
I would agree that most Canadians probably view healthcare as a right.
I think the overwhelming majority.
Yeah, and they're used to it. That's the point. They're used to it, and they're not. They don't believe that it can happen to them, that, you know, public health care
Yeah.
is taken away. The other thing
So
is that we have sorry, I'm almost finished.
no,
A
it's okay.
small group of, we have only a certain number of doctors and nurses, okay? And if you end up having um, privatized healthcare with a public section, uh, you basically pull people out of the public healthcare and into the private,
Mhm.
leaving the people who
Mhm.
are in public with less and less resources.
Yeah.
So my Elise has been awfully quiet.
Yes,
So
sorry.
I want to go to her and ask her what she thinks about like the healthcare situation. Do you have a doctor now?
I don't have a doctor. I have a nurse practitioner.
Mhm.
Okay. So
But
are you afraid about our healthcare crumbling? Do you have concerns or are you satisfied with things the way they are?
honestly, right now, I don't really think about it because I have not had to even use the healthcare for a long time. So I don't really haven't really been thinking about it. No. But I know we do have a private clinic in Cornwall, don't we? They
There's a few like
Oh,
there's a few that now kind of charge to see patients, like the Walmart clinic does. I think it's $15 to go and see, and you see a nurse who
Mhm,
consults with a doctor via video
online, yeah.
consultation.
mhm,
So that's one thing, and then there's the other clinic on Baldwin who has started to offer consultations with I think she's a nurse practitioner, or maybe she's just a nurse and she consults with a nurse practitioner. I can't remember now, but and they charge like a full price. Like it's not cheap, but I know it helped me um when I was facing, like, I couldn't see anybody and it was kind of urgent and I didn't want to go sit at the ER, because that's the thing, right? You don't want to clutter the ER for something that's simple, and like I just needed a strep throat test,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah.
So I still don't understand why our pharmacies are not offering that testing. Like, this is ridiculous. That could be done by pharmacies.
mhm.
But
Yeah.
anyways, I went to that clinic and had the test done, and you know, I was very thankful for it, but I don't want to be thankful for paying for healthcare, you know?
Mhm. Can you bring up the comment from Aaron Brown?
This one?
Yep. I just want to say, so this comment reads, public healthcare has basically already been taken away. What is left doesn't really pay attention or care about your health. I think that's true to an extent, and I want to make it very clear that is not a sign of public healthcare being inferior somehow, or a public system not being able to work. That's ridiculous, because it has worked in Canada's past. I think that's, as Louise was saying, deliberate underfunding and deliberate lack of care towards our healthcare system, so that the conservatives can say, oh, look, public healthcare doesn't work. Let's go
That's
private.
what I think is happening too. But a lot of people just see it as not working, unfortunately.
Yep.
Luigi would plead for any Canadian thinking about privatization to reconsider.
Which
Luigi
Luigi?
Mangione.
Wow.
Am I
Wow.
Luigi?
No, Luigi Mangione.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Guy who, yeah. Aaron says, thank you for acknowledging me. I completely agree. We have another comment here. Many people don't realize that we can still be denied identical health care and even prescriptions that others receive freely and immediately, but we wait years and pay out of pocket.
You're talking, Katrina, you're talking obviously about in a private system, yes? Because I think that's what she
I would
means.
assume. I would
Yeah.
assume. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
because
well, there comes in you know, discrimination, because it is proven that not everybody is seen the same way in a private system. Not to mention, like, the ton of tests and procedures that are prescribed that are not necessary, you know? Like,
yeah.
You know, I don't people maybe think, "Oh, if we go private, I'm just going to have to pay for my insurance and I'll be good." The insurance companies are going to find whatever reason to
to
not
deny.
Yeah.
cover all of your claims.
I saw
Yeah.
something online about um, somebody who'd had appendicitis, and the insurance company said, no, we don't think it's necessary for you to have had surgery.
Yeah.
Just please.
Wow.
So Katrina had a previous comment to her second comment. So this was the beginning of the what we read after. So on the debate of privatization, I want to throw out that there's a lot of services that have been never funded. Trans and non-binary folks like myself have still been fighting for basic services. So, okay. And then there's this one. Many people don't realize that you can still be denied. Okay. Now it makes more sense.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you for your comment.
Definitely a flawed
Yeah.
system. So,
Yeah.
as someone was saying about complacency, I think it was Katrina. You don't have to be complacent in this upcoming election. And yeah.
Vote.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you
Get
know,
voter participation above 50%. That is a
that would be awesome.
ridiculously low bar.
I
Yeah.
think we should have some sort of compulsory voting. I really do. I think that it's the minimum. One of the minimum things that a citizen should do is to elect
To
their
vote.
government. Elect their
So
government.
that's interesting because I was chatting with somebody who is involved with the New Blue Party, which is a new party this election, who was actually stating that he would make it illegal to not vote. Like, what do you guys think about all that?
It's
Well, go.
it's a complex issue. I think if you can make it so that voting is easily accessible for everyone and people don't have to miss shifts or, leave their kids unattended or whatever, I think, yeah, maybe mandatory voting could work. But once it gets to a point where it's going to cost the voter money, that's where you run into issues.
But how does that pan out with like freedom? Like, if it's a free country, should you be mandated to vote? I guess so. You're mandated to wear a seatbelt, right? So
There's a lot of in a free country. There's a lot of mandates like paying taxes. I mean, it's part of your responsibility towards the country. It's a social system.
You have responsibilities municipally. There are all kinds of things you can't do. Just take a look at what you can no longer toss in garbage, which I'm for,
Mhm.
by the way.
oh,
But
it's reduced
know,
my trash so much.
yeah.
Like I get one trash bag a week now. Like it's crazy.
So all of that, but there are things that we do as a social collective, as society, to make society function properly. This is just and to me, voting and voting is just a word for electing your government. That is something that everybody should be doing. I just
I
you
agree.
know it's like basic, and you should how to do it, I don't know, but I think that again, there are so many ways of doing it, including mail-in votes.
Yep.
Come on, there's
But
no
some
excuse.
people are so disenchanted. Like even here in my household, I have a few kids who are
Yep.
looking at this and saying, it doesn't matter. Like my vote doesn't count. Like they're all the same. All the politicians are the same, whether you're left or right. You're electing the same freaking form. Like they're two sides of the same coin.
Okay,
So
but
what do you say to that?
you tell them that they have different ways of interacting with politicians. Obviously, one is to vote. Another one is to write to your politician, call your MP or MPP, write letters to the editor. I do all of this stuff, and make your voice heard. And because the if you don't do that, on the flip side, you're left with a government that doesn't represent you. And nowadays, because things are becoming, I'm not even sure what the right word
Polarized?
is.
Polarized?
Well, not only polarized, but things are very. We're heading to democracy at this stage. I think sort of almost pretty much doesn't exist. We're heading worldwide towards dictatorships. And you will end up with what you end up with. So if you don't push now, while you have at least a little bit of a chance,
Mm-hmm.
you know, what you're going to end up with later is a government a lot of the time that doesn't care, that is there for the wealthy, and then what do? Then you're going to be out rioting or protesting to make your point, or you're going to sit and live terribly because you let in a bad government. I
Yeah,
mean, I look at the
Yeah,
Americans,
but
and to me, it's like,
yeah, but
that's
these young people, they really believe that it doesn't matter. Like
well.
there's other people
Here's
pulling the strings.
Here's what I want to say. If you believe that, people think it doesn't matter. Oh, it seems like nothing's ever changing from government to government. That's because you have an opposition to some extent pushing back. See what happens if, I mean, the conservatives get all the power. See what happens when right now the Republicans control the Supreme Court, the
mhm,
presidency, the House, and the Senate in America. We're already seeing how many executive orders Trump is getting through without any pushback because of that.
yeah, yeah, and
Including
that's,
tariffs to Canada that are
Yeah.
going to be starting very soon.
Wow.
I
Yeah.
mean,
I do agree though with Mateo though. You have to get out, you have to vote, and don't just sit back and complain
Mhm.
afterwards
I
about
think that
what the way things
I
turn
think
out.
Mateo has a point.
Especially if you don't vote.
Yeah, exactly. Then there's a lot of people that do that. They don't vote and then
Well, you have
they
no
sit and
business
complain.
complaining. Like,
No,
your
exactly.
non-vote has made a bigger statement than taking a stand.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
so whether you're 18 or 65, just make sure you're on that list, and
Mhm.
whether you're voting conservative, liberal, NDP, new blue, greens, at least cast a vote.
Jeremy Rose said, right, in one of his
Yep.
answers, he said, as long as you vote, period, you have my
My
Yeah.
respect.
respect. Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure. Like, I mean, it's our democracy, it's our duty to make sure that we take every step we can to either stay the same or make change. But like you said, Louise, it would be, we should have like at least a 50%. Or was that you, Mateo?
That
Mateo.
was
Yeah.
me, yeah.
Like, what's wrong with people that we don't even get 50% of the eligible people voting?
And then municipal is even crazier.
But
I know.
I think that people that sit and they feel that it doesn't make a difference. There's a grain of truth in it, not in that
Mhm.
it doesn't make a difference, but they feel, I guess, manipulated, uh, and part of that is, um, the amount of money. Like, the more money you have, the more you can manipulate messaging, stuff like that. I mean, and I think what people have to do is, they have to educate themselves. They have to read, and it's a bit more work these days.
I
It's
mean,
hard.
yeah, like the money that you have at your disposal is a huge factor in a campaign. Like, I know the NDP is working with a lot less than the PC is working with. I mean, you
Mhm.
just look at how many freaking signs there are out there, with Eric Duncan's face on it.
Nolan Quinn.
Um,
Nolan Quinn.
um
Yeah.
Nolan Quinn.
Sorry, Nolan Quinn. Brain fart.
Yeah, well,
Um,
we can't afford, we can't afford big billboards and stuff like that. It's not even,
Mhm.
yeah.
yeah, it's crazy. So, but that makes a difference, because the messaging, you cannot push as much as the other party. Like, I feel that there should be like the same amount of money. It should be mandated that every party spends the same amount of money on a
And,
campaign.
Canada's a lot better than that than the United States.
Oh
We still have
yeah.
a lot of
Yes,
progress, but federal funding for parties,
Yes, Katrina. Yes, yes,
I agree with
yes,
yeah.
Katrina. Yes.
yes.
Especially, I don't want to necessarily bring up SDSG because I think from what I've seen, Jeremy Rose does have quite the fighting chance. But in a lot of ridings where it may seem like it's a safe PC or liberal or NDP, whatever riding, people are not going to go out and bother to vote because I'm not going to get the representation I want in this riding anyways, so why vote is a lot of people's mindset. And under a proportional representation system, you would get
Yeah.
some level of representation.
Okay,
Yeah.
so recap. We have to work to make everybody obligated to vote. We got to change the law so everybody has to vote, and then we have to do a first past the, we have to work towards a first past the post new system. So this is our lobbying for the next 4 years.
I do just want to bring up one more thing I forgot to say earlier. When we were talking about why a lot of people are complacent and vote for Ford, I don't think it's as much necessarily like that as we may think it is, because if you look at the election results, 60% of people vote against Ford, but and I don't know the solution to this, because the Liberal and NDP are different parties with different needs and different wants and different promises. But I mean, you have the left side split, 25% go to Liberals, 25% go to NDP. The other 50, most of it goes to conservatives. But I mean, like, this is another reason we need proportional representation, right? Or ranked choice voting. There's a lot of good alternatives, but say you have a riding that votes 40% conservative, 25% liberal, 25% NDP. Most of the latter two would vote liberal before conservative or NDP before conservative, but the conservatives get in with the minority of the vote because of the vote splitting.
So then the majority of the people who are more left would be represented properly.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah.
So it is 10:52. So wrapping up, any last words?
Well, last words I have, because I'm working, with the Riding Association. I would encourage anybody now or anytime in the future. We have a federal election also that's going to be coming up. Get involved in the
Process.
get involved in the process. Work with riding associations. It's very rewarding to be part of the on the ground team. You'll learn a lot. Excellent experience.
I feel like you may be speaking to me a little bit here.
If the shoe fits.
Well, you're a very bright guy. I know you,
Yeah.
and it's the type of thing where you can make a difference. You're part of what gets the message out there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to use your words to convince you to get involved. Is that it's your future, Mateo?
I will also say, I guess the campaign you guys have been putting together with Jeremy Rose has been very inspiring, because it's a very local, grounded movement.
And I
think
want to say, we're not saying get involved with the NDP. We're saying get involved.
Get involved.
Like, get involved. Like, just if you're conservative, go and be boots on the ground. If you're liberal, same thing. Just go get involved. Everybody needs volunteers. So
yes, and I'm going to say for the NDP, because I don't, I listen to different comments. We're a tiny group of people, and we're trying to, blow it up. So I will apologize. There are gaps. There are things that are falling through the cracks. What can you do? More people would have made this a little easier. So get involved.
Yep.
If you have the time or any skill set, or even none, get involved.
Doesn't matter.
We can always use you. Trust me.
I want to actually add at
Yeah.
this point, if you want to find out more about the different platforms, you can go to the debate at the Civic Complex this Wednesday. It's starting at 5 o'clock with meet the candidates, and at 6 o'clock the debate happens. So that would be a good place to go to find out more.
And then the Thursday
and also
as well.
the Labor Council on Thursday. That one starts at 7 o'clock at the Benson Center. So you can hear all the platforms for all the
candidates. And I'm so upset
time.
that I'm going to miss all of it, because I'm going to be on a beach sipping on a pina colada.
Do you have a good phone plan? Because
I do.
good, because
I don't think you should be concerned about the Wi-Fi. It was good in Panama and it was good in Cuba. I don't know why DR would be
would be bad.
living
Yeah.
100 years ago.
like the idea that she's going is giving me, cold sweats. It's like, oh no, I have to take over
Oh my
alone.
God. So we have one last comment here. Mateo, you want to read it?
My last comment is for the unhoused. How can they participate in society, including voting, if they spend all their resources just surviving? That's 81,000 people who may not be able to think about vote. And I think this kind of goes back to the conversation about mandatory voting with groups like homeless people, unhoused people, and a bunch of other groups that have these kind of issues. You have to make sure voting is accessible before making it mandatory.
Because you can't vote if you don't have an address. Correct? Am I wrong? Am I wrong? I think you need an address. If you're going
You may be right.
if you're going to the polls and you want to
You need
register on the
ID, I
spot,
know that,
you need
yeah.
ID, and I'm pretty sure you need an address, and that can be challenging for people who are
You can get a
homeless.
shelter, but it is obviously
But your ID will
challenging.
not. Yeah, you might not even have ID if you're homeless.
Mhm.
Think about it. So
And that's the sad part for a lot of homeless people. A lot of things need ID and a lot of things need addresses. So how do they cope?
yeah.
How do they survive?
Oh, anyways. So
Well,
do you have anything else for us, Mylise? Do you have any events happening besides the 2 debates?
Yeah, the debates were the important ones that I wanted to get in because I think those are the only 2 debates that are happening. Seeing that last week got canceled because of the storm.
yeah.
Yes, yes. But I want to
So-
say it's impressive that they managed to schedule 2 debates in this short campaign. So I'm kind of happy
Yeah.
to see that it's happening, and I'm hoping that all the candidates show up so everybody
Mhm.
can learn about every single one of them.
I think that
Yeah, exactly.
certainly the first debate, I believe people from the audience can ask questions, and I think that that's, again, prepare a question and ask it.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think the Labor Council does that too.
Okay.
Yeah.
They do.
Okay.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah. So there's questions from the floor, and that's awesome.
Yeah. There's a couple of other quick events going on. The connections, I can't even get the word. The connections activity at the Klein House got canceled last Thursday and Friday because of the snowstorm. So it's happening this Thursday and Friday. Thursday it's 5 to 9, Friday 10
And that's
to
in
4.
honor of Black History Month.
It's a
Right.
celebration of Black History Month. So go and enjoy some art, some music, storytelling.
Food too, I
some
hear.
food. Yep, and you're gonna miss it. Sorry, I'm gonna be going.
And I was
It's,
so looking
it's-
forward to meeting Sean.
I know you were. It's a free event, guys. And while you're there, check out the Klein House. The juried art show is on. And make sure that you put your ballot in for the People's Choice Award as well while you're there. The show is on till March the 1st, so you still have some time to see that. We have Roxanne Delage is performing at the Port Theatre on the 21st on Friday night. So you can check that out. Night of Music happening with Andre Caju in Alexandria at the Legion on Friday from 7 to 11. We have the Taylor Swift story happening on Saturday at the Port. Tribute to
Oh.
Taylor Swift, of course. Yeah, that looks like it's going to be interesting. And a spaghetti
Yes.
dinner on Saturday, the February the 22nd at the Ramada, which is going to be a benefit dinner and dance for Central 105 and the Agape
Awesome
Center.
organization that helps a lot of folks
Yeah,
in the
we're all
community.
going to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, not me.
Yeah. No, she'll be on a beach with a pina
Like,
colada. and
how
of course-
crazy is it that I'm not looking forward to my vacation because I want to stay here
Hey.
and see the political stuff that's happening?
I can go in your place if you really don't want to go.
I do want to say also that while Julia's laying on a beach, we she'll be helping me too. We're both going to be working on the Beauty and Bridal Flip magazine, which is with the March issue. So if you are in any service related to weddings and beauty, please email us because you still have some time to get your ad in for that.
All right. Well, with that, it is 11 o'clock. Thank you for watching, folks. I hope you have a super beautiful day.
And a super duper week.
Thank you, our guests. Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye for now.